They called him washed up, Hollywood's biggest joke, box office poison. While critics were writing his career obituary, he was writing paychecks. While studios ghosted him, he built an empire that generated more views than most Oscar winners combined. They called him finished, then he quietly became the most powerful player in streaming. Because sometimes the biggest wins happen when nobody's paying attention. The great Hollywood divorce, when studios said no more. Let's rewind to 2014. Adam Sandler was basically Hollywood's unwanted ex-boyfriend. His last few movies had crashed and burned harder than a dating life after a bad breakup. That's My Boy, total flop. Jack and Jill, critics roasted it so hard it became a meme before memes were even a thing. Even Sony Pictures, his longtime home studio, started treating him like that friend who always borrows money and never pays it back. Other major studios? They were ghosting him completely. The industry wisdom was crystal clear. Adam Sandler was done, finished. Time to start a podcast or something. But here's where it gets wild. While studio bigwigs were writing him off, Netflix was looking at completely different numbers. They noticed Happy Gilmore was getting watched more than most Oscar winners. The Waterboy was crushing it in their comedy rankings. Big Daddy had people hitting replay more than TikTok skits. If you also thought Sandler was actually washed up, comment washed. But if you saw this Netflix move coming, drop a genius below. Netflix wasn't playing by Hollywood's old rules. They were tracking something way more valuable, actual human behavior. And according to their data, Adam Sandler wasn't failing. He was secretly dominating. The $250 million gamble that wasn't really a gamble. In 2014, Netflix dropped a bombshell that made every entertainment reporter spit out their overpriced coffee. Sandler's movies weren't just popular on Netflix, they were absolutely crushing it. His films had completion rates that made prestige dramas jealous. People in 190+ countries were binge-watching his comedies. Most importantly, his content brought in new subscribers and kept existing ones glued to their screens. The deal wasn't a desperate Hail Mary, it was pure mathematical genius. Netflix figured out that most of us don't want to be challenged or educated after a brutal day at work. We want to laugh, zone out, and forget our problems exist for 90 minutes. And nobody delivered it better than Adam Sandler. The Algorithm Whisperer, How Sandler Cracked the Code. December 2015, The Ridiculous Six hits Netflix. Critics absolutely destroyed it. Native American actors walked off set. The internet declared it proof that the Netflix deal was already a disaster. Except for one tiny detail, it became Netflix's most watched original film ever. Not just among comedies, among all movies. It shattered every internal viewing record Netflix had and proved something revolutionary. Streaming audiences were completely different animals than theatergoers. Sandler had accidentally become the first actor to truly understand streaming psychology. His movies weren't designed for the big screen experience where you're trapped in a dark room for 2 hours. They were perfect for your living room, playing in the background while you scroll your phone or keeping the family entertained without anyone having to think too hard. His films became the cinematic equivalent of comfort food. Predictable? Yes. Familiar? Absolutely. Exactly what millions of people craved after dealing with real life? 100%. Hit that subscribe button if you're starting to see Sandler's strategy differently. Going global. The Happy Madison empire expands. By 2017, something mind-blowing was happening. Sandler's Netflix movies were becoming worldwide phenomena. The Do-Over was among Netflix's most watched original films at the time. Sandy Wexler found massive audiences in countries where most people had never even heard of Adam Sandler before. His films were getting dubbed into dozens of languages and creating new fans from Tokyo to São Paulo. Netflix's global reach had transformed Adam Sandler from an American comedy star into an international entertainment brand. But here's where Sandler showed he wasn't just lucky, he was smart. He started evolving his formula. Same core humor, but with more diverse casting, international locations, and broader appeal. His Netflix films felt bigger and more inclusive without losing that signature Sandler charm. Murder Mystery, starring Sandler and Jennifer Aniston, was a masterclass in global content creation. Set in gorgeous Italian locations with an international supporting cast, it combined classic Sandler comedy with Netflix-level production values. Result? 73 million households binged it in the first month alone, making it Netflix's biggest original film launch in history at the time. The guy who used to make jokes about lunch ladies had quietly become a global entertainment mogul. Critics versus real people, the ultimate showdown. Here's where the Sandler Netflix story gets really interesting and reveals something uncomfortable about modern film criticism. Professional critics continued demolishing his films. Murder Mystery sits at 44% on Rotten Tomatoes. Critics called it lazy, predictable, formulaic, basically every insult in the film snob playbook. Meanwhile, actual human beings couldn't get enough. The movie has solid user ratings and spawned a sequel that was even more popular. This wasn't about dumb versus smart entertainment. This was about a massive disconnect between what professional critics thought people should want versus what people actually wanted. Traditional critics were still judging Netflix films like they were $15 movie theater experiences. Is this worthy of my hard-earned money? Does this advance cinema as an art form? Will film schools study this in 50 years? But Netflix audiences weren't asking those questions. They were asking much simpler things. Will this make my family laugh on a Wednesday night? Can I put this on while doing dishes? Will my kids enjoy it without me worrying about inappropriate content? Adam Sandler was answering yes to all of those questions every single time. If you think critics are out of touch with regular people, smash that like button. If you think they have a point about quality, let me know in the comments. The Uncut Gems plot twist, proving he could act all along. Just when everyone thought they had Adam Sandler completely figured out, he pulled the ultimate curveball, Uncut Gems. This 2019 A24 thriller, directed by the brilliant Safdie brothers, showcased a completely different side of Sandler. Gone was the goofy man-child persona. Instead, we got an intense, anxiety-inducing performance as a gambling-addicted jeweler spiraling toward destruction. Critics lost their minds. The performance was called a revelation, with many saying it was the best work of his entire career. Awards buzz started building. Suddenly, the same industry that had written him off was calling him underrated and secretly brilliant. But here's the real plot twist. Uncut Gems didn't prove that Sandler lacked range. It proved his Netflix strategy was pure genius. He could act. He'd always been able to act. Films like Punch Drunk Love and The Wedding Singer had shown glimpses of his dramatic chops for years. But he'd made a calculated business decision to give Netflix audiences exactly what they wanted, while occasionally flexing his dramatic muscles in smaller, prestigious projects. COVID changes everything. When comfort content became essential, then 2020 happened. The pandemic shut down movie theaters, trapped everyone at home, and suddenly Netflix became America's lifeline to entertainment. And guess who was perfectly positioned for this cultural moment? The guy who'd been making living room comedies for 6 years straight. Movie Halloween, Sandler's 2020 Netflix release, arrived at exactly the right time. Families stuck in lockdown needed something harmless, familiar, and genuinely funny. The film became a massive global hit, proving that Sandler's understanding of home viewing wasn't just smart business, it was basically predicting the future. While other A-list actors struggled to figure out streaming, Sandler was already the undisputed king of the format. His films provided exactly what pandemic audiences desperately needed. Pure escapism without complexity, genuine laughs without edge, comfort without requiring any emotional investment. The industry had spent years mocking his Netflix strategy. COVID proved he'd been playing 4D chess while everyone else was still figuring out checkers. Comment profit if you think Sandler saw this coming, or lucky if you think it was just perfect timing. The numbers game, breaking down the empire. By 2021, the scope of Sandler's Netflix dominance was absolutely undeniable. His films consistently ranked among the platform's most watched content. Murder Mystery has been viewed by over 73 million households worldwide. The Ridiculous Six remained one of their most replayed films years after release. His overall Netflix catalog had generated billions of viewing hours. But the real kicker was Netflix's internal satisfaction data. Sandler films didn't just get watched, they got high satisfaction scores from viewers. His content was sticky in ways that won prestigious awards but couldn't keep people engaged. Audiences would finish a Sandler movie and immediately queue up another one. His films created binge-watching marathons that kept subscribers hooked for entire weekends. Netflix had accidentally discovered the perfect creator for the streaming age. Someone who could generate massive viewership, high audience satisfaction, and addictive rewatchability without the ego demands or budget requirements of traditional A-list drama. That original $250 million investment, it has become one of the smartest deals in streaming history. The Happy Madison method, building a content factory. Behind Sandler's Netflix success was something even more impressive than the numbers. A content creation system that worked like a well-oiled machine. Happy Madison Productions had evolved into a streamlined movie-making factory. They could produce high-quality films quickly, efficiently, and on budget, crucial factors for Netflix's aggressive content volume needs. But the real genius was making movies that felt spontaneous and fun while actually being carefully calculated products. Sandler surrounded himself with the same crew of friends and collaborators, creating a repertory company that audiences grew to recognize and love. This wasn't just Hollywood nepotism, it was brilliant brand consistency. When you watched a Sandler film, you knew you'd see familiar faces, reliable laughs, and comfortable viewing. The formula seemed simple. Take a relatable premise, add beloved character actors, film in a cool location, include some physical comedy and genuine heart, deliver it all with Netflix's production budget. It sounds easy. Most of Hollywood still can't replicate it. Don't forget to subscribe because we're about to reveal how this strategy is changing Hollywood forever. Redefining success, what winning actually looks like now. As Sandler's Netflix partnership enters its second decade, it raises a fascinating question. What does success actually mean in the streaming era. Old-school Hollywood metrics box reviews, office numbers, awards, critical reviews suggest Sandler's recent career has been mediocre at best, but streaming data tells a completely different story. His films have entertained hundreds of millions of people across the globe. They've provided comfort during tough times, brought families together for movie nights, and created shared cultural moments across different age groups and backgrounds. Is making people genuinely happy less valuable than winning an Oscar that most people don't care about? Sandler's Netflix era has quietly redefined what it means to be a successful entertainer. He's proven that connecting with real audiences might be more important than impressing film critics who represent maybe 0.1% of the viewing public. He's also shown something powerful about authenticity in an industry obsessed with reinvention. While other actors constantly chase prestige projects or try to transform themselves for each role, Sandler has remained essentially himself. The future empire, what's next for the king of streaming? As Netflix faces increasing competition from Disney+, HBO Max, Apple TV+, and everyone else trying to get into streaming, Sandler's role becomes even more important. His content provides something that algorithmic programming and data science can't easily replicate: genuine human connection. His films feel handmade in an increasingly digital world, personal in a corporate entertainment landscape. The massive success of Murder Mystery 2 and his ongoing development deals prove that Netflix still sees enormous value in the partnership. But more importantly, it shows that audiences still crave what Sandler consistently delivers. In a media landscape splitting across dozens of different platforms, Adam Sandler has become something incredibly rare, a true destination draw who can bring audiences to a specific service just by being there. The final cut, the revolutionary hidden in plain sight. While Hollywood chased Oscars, Sandler chased something more valuable: human connection. He figured out that making families laugh together on Tuesday nights beats critical acclaim every time. The most subversive thing he ever did, proving that giving people what they actually want is revolutionary in an industry that usually tells audiences what they should want. His real genius wasn't silly voices or ridiculous costumes. It was understanding that the biggest stars aren't on magazine covers, they're in your living room, bringing comfort when you need it most. The revolution wasn't televised, it was streamed, and Sandler led the charge while everyone else wasn't paying attention. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications because Hollywood's full of finished careers that are secretly crushing it behind the scenes. Next week, we're exposing which A-lister everyone thinks is irrelevant but just signed the biggest streaming deal in history. Trust me, you won't see this one coming.